Let me see, hold on. So he'll put it. Okay, folks, we're going to get started. Really excited for this panel. I've heard a little bit about what they're going to talk about, and I think it's going to be really great to get everyone on this panel's perspective on AI coding and what's happening with all of that. We are going to try to make this really interactive. And so Masha will lead the discussion for a little bit, and then we're going to open it up to questions in the audience. So I have a mic. I will run around for questions. So think of questions. We want to make it interactive as they're chatting, and about 15 minutes into the panel, we'll pause and take some questions, okay? All right, so with that, Masha, go ahead and get started.
Hello, everybody. Just trying. It works, right? I think it does. Hello, everybody. Thank you for coming. Thank you for staying. And we talked a lot about databases, query engines, GPUs, other complex things. And now we're going to talk about what I think is on everybody's mind, no matter whether they're database experts or not, is like AI. How do you use it in every day? What do you love? What do you don't love sometimes? Like, AI just became a thing I think nobody can just ignore. It's no longer an option to say, oh, yeah, I'm fine. I don't need this. That's okay. I'm good. Like, I haven't really myself used AI for my daily job until sometime in January. Like, I dabbed at it, like tried it here, tried it there, wasn't thrilled, wasn't like impressed. You would have to press me hard to really, really use it. And then something happened, like in January, New Year, whatever. I gave it another try and never went back. Like, this was the last day I wrote a line of code by hand. And I can't say I enjoy it every single moment. Do I get frustrated with it? Yes. I need to remind myself it's a machine. I should have feelings towards it. But it's definitely changed how I work. I think it changed how pretty much everybody here work in the companies. And we have all figuring it out still. I feel like some of us maybe are more advanced, some are slightly, maybe a little bit sort of less, but we all are still having questions. I don't think anybody has the script and knows how to do it. So I feel like it's very useful to hear from different people with different roles, different kind of problems to tackle every day. How do you do it? What you like, what you don't like, what you found works really well, where you still like looking for suggestions and willing to take ideas. So we have 4 people. I would let them introduce themselves. Let's start with Hasib.
Hi everyone, my name is Mohammed Hasib. I go by my last name Hasib. I am a senior software engineer in the LibQDF team at NVIDIA.
Thank you for coming, and this is exciting to have you here.
Yeah, I'm excited to be here. Yeah, this is my second VeloxCon, and
Welcome. Eric?
Yeah, I'm Eric. I'm from Meta. I'm very interested in testing guardrails, so I'm gonna spend more time on this topic today.
Yeah, that's, I feel like, very relevant. Like, everybody wonders how to let AI run wild, but stay within some reasonable bounds. Aditi?
Yeah, hi everyone. I'm Aditi Pandit. I'm from IBM, and I've been associated with Velox for about like 5-ish years now, and
feel like since forever.
yeah, and Prestis more largely. So I can talk about my experiences using AI in those projects.
Thank you.
Hi everybody, I'm Amit. I'm working at Meta for 10 years.
Welcome. Thank you for coming. And look, can't wait to hear what you have to say. My first question is like, what do you love most about using AI for your daily job? Eric, you want to go?
Yeah, I think I'll start with productivity is definitely multiplied. And if you are an engineer with many good ideas and you don't have time to do everything manually before, you are really empowered. Or if you are a team lead with large projects that span across kind of cross-functional teams. Traditionally, we need a POC from every team to provide domain knowledge or land code in their own repo. And if you're not lucky, if any of the team is short on staff, your project can be delayed, right, or at risk. Now, that's not the case anymore. You can do a relatively deep research on a complex domain, and at least having a working prototype first. Of course, it doesn't have to be perfect, but over time we can refine it with the team domain expert. But I would say there are no more team boundaries. Projects can be moving much faster and stable. Yeah.
Definitely a lot of power now, like in the hands. Aditi, what's your experience?
Yeah, so I would say, like, top of my mind, two things. Like, so I end up reviewing a lot of code, and I think firstly, like a lot of the coding agents, they, we got into this habit of getting them explain the code that's written, and so that made like reviewing code a lot easier than what it used to be. It takes out a lot of grunt work. Like I especially love like explain this error that you can run on any PR and any like test in the CI. And I think one of the other things I think it also enabled me is that I had a lot of like data infrastructure experience, but say not much in like changing some UI or something, and I would get really hassle to change anything in UI because there are so many layers and so many frameworks. But now, if I just want to implement something quickly, I can just do it. So I think that's something I like.
Yeah. Hasib, what do you love about
Of
AI?
course, I love that it's a team of interns that you can at your hand, and especially lately with like multimodal input and output, it's become really easy to like learn new things much faster, have it explain things, and for example, for me, I'm a part of the libcodf team. I'm not fully working on Velox, only not working on libcodf. I'm switching between. And then before like AI agents, when you switch your mental context, you do a mental kind of context switch, going from, okay, I'm gonna work on this thing of Velox, or maybe like this thing in libcodf. It took time. Like, now you can teach your agents on to do how to work, to behave when you're working on, let's say, libcodf, or working with Velox, or when you're working both of these things. So it become easier to translate your skills into something that you can teach to your agents and have them use it. So it's like less mental burden for you, kind of like offload a lot of your work to the agents, which is really nice.
Yeah, so sounds like kind of working across two large code bases, libcodf and Velox, became a little bit easier.
Yes.
Amit.
Yeah, for me, I think I can do many things in parallel. Like if I have to fix some production issues, some crash or bugs or test failure that we could hard to debug. Previously could take like 2-3 hours sometimes. Now with AI agents you can do in 5-10 minutes, even less, right? And at the same time you can do some coding work also. So it definitely make one person do many things and utilize the time better. That's I really like a lot.
Yeah. Isn't it amazing? Like, if you have like a simple local repro, you can just tell the agent, hey, I'm seeing an error when run X. Figure it out. And it does.
It does, yes.
In many cases, it does. It's like,
Yes.
for me, that was like, really? That's nice. It takes a lot of tedious debugging, printf work out of our days. But is it all like rosy and nice? Anywhere you feel like AI falls short in your like daily work, Aditi?
Yeah, I mean, actually starting using the coding agent was quite stressful because till you get used to how to like make a dialogue with it, I mean, if you'd asked it to write some code and, so like for an example, I wrote some Velox functions using a coding agent. Like the first time, I thought like this is very straightforward. Like so many Velox functions out there, so like well written. I just need to like explain this and use this API. We made a bunch of mistakes, and debugging them was quite painful. So till you learn to like basically be able to describe things and be able to run through every step of the process with it, it's very difficult because you don't know its thinking process, and then when you get this chunk of code and you have to debug it, it's like quite painful. So yeah, but now I got more used to it and got better with the dialogue.
Yeah, it can produce a lot of code very fast, but then how do you know it's the right kind of
Yeah,
code?
exactly. like if you see Velox aggregates, there's so many APIs. It can mess easily between them. So
Yeah, thank you. Hasib, how do you feel about it?
So, I'll say the same thing again. It's like having a team of interns, not engineers. And, by interns, if you're...
Every engineer has at some point been.
Yeah, but, but I think the biggest thing for me is that as tasks get complex, they degrade really fast and really bad. So if you're having a bad day and it becomes like a domino effect. For example, working with Velox Kuriev, we have things that are in upstream Velox. If you make it try to understand what's going on in upstream and what's going on in Kuriev, and then use those two things in context and do something for you, it's going to break down. It's not going to understand which one to follow. So if you have multiple information from multiple sources, for example, multiple coding standards, libquery have a different coding standard, it has a different coding standard. And now things start breaking. And then when things break, for example, it's not going to remember that there are some things that are already well. It's going to start like dumping code, duplicate same things again and again. So even with, I think if you don't know what you're doing, then it doesn't know either. So you need to be very specific on what you want and how you want. Otherwise, spend a lot of time debugging.
Yeah. Eric, do you have something to add?
Yeah, I think AI definitely has limitations, but I think that's okay. I mean, human also has limitations. I have limitations. So I'm also treating, similar to you, treating every agent as a smart engineer, but who are also new to the team or new to the domain. So we're trying to solve that by building a team of domain expert agents and keep enriching them with rules and latest context. And with that, we are building something called a harness engineering framework with strong guardrails to help guarantee we have high signal output out of the agents. I think the guardrail, for example, like high signal end-to-end testing suites or performance benchmark, like those are very critical if we're talking about complex systems like Velox, right? Even agent can generate unit test. For complex system like Velox, we need really well-crafted testing suites to guardrail the output.
Yeah, testing feels like even more important with agents kind of trying to figure out. Like I'm seeing an AI coding agent can make anything seem like working.
I mean, it can just change your test to make it work, or delete it altogether.
Exactly, I saw them do that. Amit, what's your experience?
I think my experience, the designing part of the software, where the main fun was, that might be diminishing a little bit, right? Because now people start implementing very quickly without thinking too much. So that part, how to tell agents that you have to think these other things that we want to do after 3 months, 4 months, maybe after a year. That vision is hard to put. I mean, in prompt or any other way, and also it's hard to write out. So that is major thing I miss.
Yeah, I wish there was a unit test which test for design correctness.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's my wish. Anything you guys miss about good old days when we were coding by hand? Amit, you miss anything?
Yeah, in old days, we had to review less designs, less diffs, right? Less code. Now there is a bunch of things we need to review. The volume of things that getting reviewed by humans is increasing, right? It's not like the burden has reduced from the writing side, but the other side is probably exponentially went up.
Do you feel like your to-do list fills up faster?
Of course, yeah. And I'm bypassing and just not looking at it, right? So that is probably downside.
Yeah. Hasib, how do you feel like anything you kind of wish didn't disappear?
I think my ability to focus more and really spend time on things has gone much lesser than it was before. So now I think we're kind of getting addicted to AI working all the time. So if it doesn't work, then it gets really hectic and really fast. And even though you can do those things manually like you used to a year ago, but it kind of feels burdensome and you get overwhelmed quite often, quite frequently and quite easily. So that I miss, to be able to design properly and do things my way.
Yeah. Eric?
I would say what I miss is the work-life balance and sleep. I feel like
Sleep is overrated.
Overrated. Yeah. Who needs that? I think working with AI is it's like a dopamine loop. Every time AI give you exciting results, you got excited, you got a dopamine hit, and the loop continues. And you try to feed the agents with more work. I know many people are trying to queue up work before they go to bed, right? They give it a rough loop setup for it to keep grinding overnight. And when you come back in the morning, you got some exciting results. But the loop continues, but there's no end of work, right? So that's what I'm working on, to find a new work-life balance and get back to normal.
Yeah, I really love how you kind of capture that kind of dopamine rush that you kind of get. Before you used to work for it, to get a result, to have it working, and you could get tired in the process, and then maybe you'll say, okay, I can get it tomorrow. Now I feel that too. Aditi?
Yeah, I think nowadays, like Amit said, right, the number of reviews you get is crazy. And it's also a lot of, if you ask for okay, what are you trying to do? What's the design? You get a text that's generated by AI. And so you find yourself drowning and drowning. So every question you ask is also returned by AI and AI. So you feel like you don't know who's the engineer. And previously, you would know the engineer and so everyone has a style and you'd kind of tune to it. But now it's it's just mounds and mounds of text coming from agents. That's how I feel.
Did you ever feel hey, can I talk to your agent?
Yeah, exactly. It's you don't know whether it's a human or agent.
Yeah. Oh, we've been talking for quite some time. I think there's a lot of thoughts swirling. Anybody has a question? Or maybe not a question, but maybe you've heard something and you want to add? Some of the things that are going through your mind, or just contribute to this conversation. I think we have a mic. Thank you, Ali.
Hi, I'm Akil from Data Pelago. So I'm listening to this panel discussion and sort of the broader discussion about AI coding, and all of it seems to be focused on using AI as a productivity tool. I'm thinking this entire framing seems backwards to me. So, I don't think it's I don't think the problem in the software industry is the software industry moves too slow, or that we don't produce enough code. it seems to me that the actual problem is a problem of quality. And maybe what we should be doing is not use AI tools as a productivity tool, but say, okay, don't use it for productivity. Use it as a tool to improve the quality of code instead.
I kind of love it. Thank you. Thank you for saying it. I'll let our panelists comment in a second, but I love it so much. I want to say a couple words. The way I'm trying to frame it for myself and whoever is willing to listen, sorry, all of you today. I want AI to allow us not to build more systems, not more things, but rather better. Like systems that require less automation around, systems that require less maintenance, less configuration, less fully understanding how exactly it's built when you're kind of not supposed to, but you end up knowing more than you ever wished you knew about the system. So I hope I'm hearing what you're trying to say, but that's how I'm trying to say it. Let's build better, not necessarily many more things. Folks, who want to comment? Eric, go ahead.
Yeah, I kind of agree with Masha for the state of art kind of direction. Yeah, not more parallel work. But I also want to answer that we're also using agent workflow to eliminate the boring part of the on-call work. Like we have production on-call, we have a release on-call. And even for testing, right, people used to have do the manual evaluation for this diff. What end-to-end test should I prepare? What clusters should I spin up for? This is all the stuff that we are trying to do right now at diff level, at release time, to let the agent workflow harness the entire testing process. So human doesn't have to spend time on those kind of chores, I call it. Yeah, just make our life easier and we can focus on more interesting things. Yeah.
Amit, you want to add?
I think, yeah, I mean, the quality part is really interesting. Maybe, I mean, we try to use AI for implementing the hard features that we could never do. I mean, Masha also told me these things, I'm saying the same thing. But there are a lot of cases for big systems, even like Velox as corner cases that we never try to implement or never try to harden because of resource, right? So those, I think, we should really do, and instead of going for volume.
Yeah. I also feel like, it really helps with prototyping. Sometimes you think good ideas, but you're really kind of not 100% sure to kind of commit real resources or even go convince other people. I feel it became a little bit easier to kind of whip up something dirty quick and see, okay, is it holding water? So for me, that's actually value, meaning more productivity by not building more, but rather knowing what to build and what not to build. Mm-hmm. Aditi, you want to add a word or two?
Yeah, so in terms, definitely quality is a big thing, and I actually feel that, now I'm becoming more and more lesser code but writing more tests, and telling the agent write a test for this, write a test for that. And that's kind of nice because now whatever code you try to submit, you can be quite diligent about writing tests, which in the past, sometimes in the speed of things, you might not have written as many tests, but now you can be okay, you can have a whole skill around categories of tests and make the agent go to it, and that's kind of quite nice.
Yeah, I also found that sometimes I want to build a test framework. It's not hard, but kind of tedious, just a lot of code to write. Now I can do it.
Yeah, now it's easier to abstract every layer of the processing stack you want and kind of write test framework at each one, which could be a bit clunky in the past, and so you kind of just didn't do it, but nowadays you do, yeah.
Yeah. Hasib, anything you want to add?
Yeah, so I'll say much like human engineers, AI coding agents are also lazy. So if the quality is not embedded in the prompt, in the plan, in whatever skills or whatever you're using, right? it's gonna produce low quality code output. So I think as humans are like the line of defense against bad quality. It's not like AI's job to produce quality code unless it's been told to and specified how. So I think it's at the end like a human's job or whoever's responsible for it. It's job to make sure that there is quality in the work that it's produced.
I feel like it also kind of forces us to be a bit more disciplined and formal about what we do, how we do it, kind of like explain it, always in writing exactly the standards, which used to be kind of a little bit fuzzy. Oh, don't you understand? Kind of obvious, right? No. So now I feel like it's a little bit good because it kind of allows you to understand more what's important, what's not, why. Well, this was great addition. Thank you. Anyone else has a question? Okay, we have some hands.
It's more about some short comment. Actually, I agree 100% with what you actually said. My experience with agents is that right now coding has become more like prompt engineering. And my experience is that if you start with very generic prompts, usually the models, especially these which are hyperscalers, because they go to internet, they basically can hallucinate a lot. So my experience with agents is that you need to have more like multi-agent systems, which are more focused on basically use the prompts to focus on the local data, local jobs, instead of going to internet and try to find something and hallucinate. That's why they're kind of more deterministic. Also, you can play with reasoning, right? So if the task is, or the job is more kind of straightforward, you don't want the model to reason a lot. So you can actually say, okay, don't reason, go straight forward to this, right? And you can actually prompt it right away.
Yeah, curious, like if you ever kind of ask it to use less capable model, like cheaper and but also kind of with less reasoning. I've heard some people do that.
Yes, because if you use, let's say, Grok or OpenAI, with these models, they're trained with everything that is on internet, right? But I found my experience is if we use local data from the company, right, and then use smart prompting, they are less prone to hallucinate. Yes.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Anybody who wants to add or comment on this?
You can take a shot. Yeah, you mentioned the prompt engineering, right? I feel like that is a challenge earlier. I feel like we are already moving past. Oh, sorry. My bad. Where did I lose you guys? Okay,
You haven't lost us. We're here.
I feel like we moved past the prompt engineering to context engineering. Now we are in the harness engineering already. The agent is way smarter than like 1 year ago. I think that's what we are trying to using the domain expert agents and the guardrail for the harness to generate the expected output. But I'm really excited to hear that for your local data setup for your company, it's even better. So that's good to hear.
Yeah. What I'm heard is that you're essentially saying sometimes like showing it less information is actually helpful. Like allows it to focus, just like a human, right? Sometimes you say, okay, I can't know everything. Stop researching, start doing. I think we had another hand. Yeah.
Yeah, hi, I'm an engineer from Meta. My question is like, can you guys share one of the most interesting feature or task or whatever things you've done recently with AI, and how do you use AI to do it?
Sure. Aditi, you want to start?
Yeah, actually, relevant to the panel, I used the agent to write a bunch of Velox functions. And it was pretty cool because the Velox codebase, thanks to Marsha, is, well, it had tons of examples. It had, there's a lot of good documentation of the APIs. Yeah, just like very well written code and like even the very good like skills also written in the Velox code base to be able to do like the function authoring quite good and nice. And I think that maybe like encouraged me to use AI more. But yeah, I wrote a bunch of like Velox functions recently. It was actually quite a good experience. So then I started wondering like if we could just automate this with like an agent, and it also made me feel like, hey, could we have just done Velox faster if we had this agent before, and it would have given us correct code for all the functions and everything. Like, yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I feel like, agents benefit a lot from like a well-structured code base with like standard patterns. Velox definitely has a way to go, but like I feel like with more code we're writing, I feel it's useful to make sure it's clean, easy to copy paste is safe. So if it is, then agent does really well. Hasib, anything you want to share with us? Like something that you feel like was pretty cool?
Yeah, of course. So I first started working on Velox around late 2024, I want to say. And the first thing that I worked on was table scan and CodeDF connector, data source. Those were the first things that I contributed. And recently, maybe by recently, I mean like 2 weeks ago, I started looking into CodeDF Iceberg. I think we talked about in one of those slides in the morning. And it was roughly the same type of work. It's adding a new data source, and then it took me maybe like 2 or 4 hours to achieve all that. Of course, I had to then spend 2 weeks to edit and review and everything, make sure everything is good. But yeah, I think that was a very good achievement. And then I learned a lot of things while working on it, especially like instead of giving it something and say, hey, work on this, discussing with it interactively to come up with plans, split those. It's a huge feature. It's split into multiple phases, multiple plans, and then look at those plans and go over with all those plans and kind of like work through with it systematically. So I got like a really good output code to work with, to start working with, which was pretty nice.
Yeah, that sounds very nice. Amit, you have an example to share?
I think most of my examples on debugging, like say, the first time like at the beginning of the year when I found some test failing for some linking issue, which is like, linking is very hard to debug manually, right? But when I saw I figured it out like in 5-10 minutes. So those kind of things, and then there are some definitely crashes, corruption, which AI is very good navigating through Velox. Even though there are some crashes, corruption it could not figure out yet. Maybe you need Mang, but it's generally really good.
Yeah, actually, my one experience is that whenever you advance Velox and Prestis more, and if there's a failure, AI is very good at fixing it.
Yes. And isn't it nice? Because those are kind of tedious work. We don't
Yeah,
mind
like-
automating.
Exactly. Like every time this job would trigger, right? We'd spend like half a day between like 2-3 of us, like asking each other, like, how do you fix this? But now the agent does it like
Yeah.
so well.
There is also like the CMake changes, right? I mean, you know about CMake changes
Yes.
because we don't run CMake internally, so it's hard for us to set up the open source setup. Previously, we need to set up in our laptop.
Isn't it nice? You can just copy paste an error from CI.
Yes.
And don't even prompt anything.
Anything.
It knows, okay, I need to fix
I need
it,
to
and this
fix
is
it,
how you fix it, and like done.
You don't even have to copy paste. You just let Claude go to the CI signal, right?
Oh, I just paste screenshots.
Can it?
Yeah. You can.
Okay, we need to talk because I've been copy pasting, so maybe I'm missing out on some productivity tips. But Eric, any example you want to share? Something like you found like, oh, this is amazing.
I think it's when you are new to a brand new domain. Like a few weeks ago, I'm working with Piper, the training team. I have zero knowledge about the training platform, but we are trying to help them to onboard to a end-to-end high signal testing framework. So, and there's no resource from training team because they are super busy. So yeah.
Everybody went to build AI.
Yeah. So, yeah, just with agents, it is doing like a 4-hour analysis, and based on the plan, it come up with just like I said, it's a working prototype. It's not perfect, but at least I can move forward. With the prototype, now you can use your spec. We're back to like TDD or BDD now, right? We define what we want. We define the test case. Now it iterate on it itself. That's the magic part. It keep improving itself with your well-defined standard and testing case. Yeah.
Don't you find that AI allows you to kind of onboard to a brand new code base, sort of enough to start asking somewhat intelligent questions for busy people who can help you, and kind of skips, using their time to just kind of ask very noobs questions. So for me, I feel like that's very powerful. Like I can come and speak in the terms that people understand, and I can ask a question that they really need to answer, like I can't get easily myself. Yeah. One thing I find pure amazing is that when you kind of debugging query failures, production queries at Meta, they're verbose. I don't know. People love writing SQL. I think they use tools to build that SQL. So it goes for pages and pages and pages and more, and then it fails. And so the standard technique is first you need to minimize the query to get to something you can reason about, and that's boring. I know how to do it. I don't enjoy it. And so one day I thought okay, it's just way too big. No, this thing can't do it, but I also don't want to do it. I'll give it a try, and then I'll write a blog about AI limitations. So I told it, hey, I have this query failure. 10 minutes later, it was minimized to 5 lines, and it also told me what's wrong. I love it. Yes, I didn't get to write a blog post about how AI is coming up short, but now I don't need to minimize queries anymore. So for me, that's pure miracle, enormous time saver, and I just love it. Do we?
Oh, hello, I'm Oliver. I work for Meta. We all know that AI is powerful, and we can move much more faster with the help of AI. But for a junior engineer, I feel like we're having less chance thinking if we're not skipping, when we are delivering the results. So do you have any advice for the junior engineers, especially for their growth in the long run?
That's a hard one. And I kind of happen to know that particular junior engineer. He's pretty good. So he actually has an answer. I don't know. Do you want to share your tips? How you growing? So folks, anybody wants to take a stab at trying to answer that question?
I think I can go. So when I was a junior engineer back in January, that's when we started using AI. So I asked myself this, what's one thing that I do every day which is tedious but not really complex, right? And maybe I can teach AI to do that. And I listed my exact. So one of the things that I used to do every day was rebuild my containers, set up my work environment, which is pretty simple, but takes 15-20 minutes. But I don't want to do that every day. I just want everything to be in the shape that I left it the day before. So I taught it how to do that and how to. I was quite skeptical because it included installing a bunch of VS Code extensions, fetching a bunch of stuff. I was like, maybe it can do it. Maybe it can, at least it'll do some steps, right? So I was able to teach it, and I was able to do all those things. When that happened, it kind of clicked in my mind, I can really offload things like how to build. I mean, if you have special CMake, special things, right? You type those commands every day, or you have to remember certain flags. Those things are really easy to teach, and they don't really change over time as much. So things like that you do quite often every day, and those are tedious but not really that technical if you know what you're doing. So I think those things, as a junior engineer, I would start by offloading those things and start really focusing on things that really matter. And maybe whenever you have something, just write it as a skill and teach AI how to do it. You fix bugs every day, the whole steps on how to fix a bug, right? Read this, let's say write a test. Do not make any change in the test to make it pass. You always have to make sure that the code passes the test and not the other way around, right? So those things could just accumulate over time, and you can become from a junior engineer to a senior AI engineer, which is not really a thing anymore.
Amit, you want to add something? If not, I'll go and then I'll come back to you.
Okay.
One way I find that AI is very helpful You can ask it any question. No worries, noob question, stupid question, whatever. It will not shame you. It will actually explain. And so I find it might be useful, like you build something, it build it for you. And then you can ask, hey, is this the only way to build it? Why? What would be another way? Why did you choose that? How about maybe the other one is better? Like engaging in that kind of discussion, I think might be useful because you may learn more about what it actually did, why it chose it. It may switch, or you may can try to discuss, or hey, can we review from first principles and find the best solution on merits? Let's do that together. And I find it's willing to engage in that discussion. So that might be my easy advice, if it helps. Anybody else wants to share?
Yeah. So yeah, actually, I pretty much as first principle added to my top level code rules to really make a change for either research or crafting a diff. It really tried to solve the root cause of the problem. But I want to answer your question. To be honest, I feel like junior engineers is even more empowered compared to senior developers. Traditionally, senior developers has either more knowledge or tribal knowledge or legacy knowledge, but that's not the case anymore. You can easily get access to all of them through the agent. I have seen many junior engineers. They are already operating at senior level, like amazing engineers. So I would say it's the prime time for junior or for everybody who are genuinely interested and motivated.
That's a very good way to look at this. Just if I may, like very quickly, one other thing I find is like, try to explain to somebody else what you're doing. It's remarkable how much better you can start understanding what you've done or what you haven't thought about when you try to explain it to somebody, either in writing or in person, in a discussion. That can kind of deepen the understanding and help get beyond just, oh, looks like it works. Somebody stamped it. I'm doing well. One more diff, next diff. So
I think we have time for just one more question right here. Yep.
Yeah, hi, I'm Oleg. And I have a question. From the business standpoint, code base is always liability, and sometimes it's a black hole for my budget and for my money. We need to maintain our code base, healthy code base. And I have a question. So maybe we already can forget about actual implementation in our code base and use some kind of like set of tests, unit tests, integration tests, some sort of like E2E tests to forget about actual implementation and said, okay, we don't care about code base anymore. It can be sloppy. It can be like terrible until it comply with all our rules, all our tests and working in production. We do not need to check code anymore. No manual reviews, nothing. If like all our gates are working, we will never touch source code again. So we will use agents to write code, to write new tests, to brainstorm a lot of use cases to cover every possible edge case, and it will be our like gates for the production. All tests, okay, that's fine. What do you think? Can we already move to this approach, or maybe in the future? Yeah.
I wish that was the first question, so we had more time. Who wants to start? Eric?
I have to answer this. I have really similar thoughts. If you look at a popular database, SQLite, their code is open sourced. It's free. But actually, their testing suite and benchmark is closed sourced and behind a paid license. So that's how they charge their customers to evaluate whether SQLite work in their production environment or not. Another example is our own Scale AI. They're becoming one of the, not becoming, they're one of the central authorities or judges for large language model benchmarking, because they have those closed source benchmarks that are immune to the AI contamination problem, right? Which is a big problem. And that is what we call it the gold standard for enterprises, for Fortune 500 companies when they evaluate large language model for their own company adoption. So yeah, I feel like these benchmarks, these test suites are becoming the standard for kind of to provide quality of agentic output. There's another example, like I'll stop here. I talk too much, but yeah, this is what I really like. But back to this one, I think it's going to be a black box situation versus maintainability problem. Like for our production usage, if we use a black box approach for Prestissimo for Velox, it's going to be a nightmare. We cannot start with a new black box to fix this new test to pass, but the iteration will take forever and not going to be a sustainable thing. Yeah.
Anybody else has thoughts on this topic?
So that brings an interesting point because this happened in like the Presto project once, that somebody like generated the entire code with the agent, right? And they weren't aware to the point that they said that they would need an agent to answer questions because they didn't want to like answer questions themselves about that code because they had entirely used an agent. And so it almost led to this kind of situation where we had to be like, okay, like, let's just write tests and kind of come up with what we think is the intent, should be the intent, and then that's how we had to test that code. So yeah, some of those kind of scenarios do happen. I mean, definitely.
Yeah. Thank you, everybody. Thank you for coming, making this an interesting conversation. I really love how many questions we got, comments, thoughts, and thank you to our panelists who agreed to come and share their perspectives. I feel like we had a really nice variety and differences in thoughts. So I hope everybody found something interesting, something new. So thank you.